The crystalline spires of the Zylaxian observatory pierced the violet sky of harmonious light, their homeworld's gentle gravity allowing for impossibly delicate architecture that would shatter under stronger forces. Inside the tallest spire, senior observer Vethris traced her translucent fingers across the holographic display, her crystalline form refracting the soft light into rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. "Impossible," she whispered, her voice chiming like wind through crystal. "The signals are coming from a world with triple our gravity. Nothing could survive there, let alone build a civilization." But the evidence was undeniable. The strange broadcasts kept flowing in, music that made her crystalline form resonate with emotion, stories of triumph and sacrifice, and images of beings who moved with impossible strength through their crushing gravity. "First observer," she called out, her voice creating harmonic overtones in the crystal chamber. "You must see this immediately." First observer Nalthine glided into the chamber, his ancient crystalline form carved by centuries of careful thought and observation. The lattices that made up his body had grown complex and intricate with age, marking him as one of the wisest of their kind. "What troubles you, Vethris?" he asked, his voice deep and resonant. She guided him through the data, showing him the impossible world they had discovered. A planet of crushing gravity, extreme temperature variations, and constant atmospheric turbulence. Yet it teemed with life, dominated by beings who called themselves humans. "They should be monsters," Vethris said, displaying images captured from human broadcasts. "Look at the density of their forms, the strength they must possess. One of them could shatter any of us with a careless touch." Yet, she played a sequence of broadcasts, humans caring for their young, creating art, tending to their sick and elderly, helping other species on their world. There were even broadcasts of them deliberately making themselves vulnerable to help others. "Fascinating," Nalthine hummed, his crystalline form vibrating with interest. "They possess the strength of Deathworlders, yet show none of the aggression we have come to expect from such beings. Should we contact them?" Vethris asked, her form shimmering with nervous energy. Nalthine was quiet for a long moment, processing the data before him. "This decision cannot be made lightly. The Council of Facets must be convened." The council chamber was a marvel of Zylaxian architecture, a perfect dodecahedron with seats for the 12 highest leaders of their society. As Vethris presented her findings, the chamber filled with the harmonic tones of concerned discussion. "Madness," declared council member Silvax, his ancient form casting sharp shadows. "We cannot risk contact with Deathworlders. Their very presence could destroy us." "But look at what they've achieved," Vethris argued, showing scenes of human medical facilities, their space programs, their efforts to preserve other species. "They understand gentleness despite their strength. They choose to protect rather than dominate." The debate raged for days, the crystal chambers ringing with arguments both for and against contact. Finally, first observer Nalthine rose to speak. "We have always prided ourselves on seeing all facets of truth," he said, his voice cutting through the discord. "Yet fear has made us blind to new possibilities. These humans have mastered their strength and turned it to creation rather than destruction. Perhaps it is time we mastered our fear." The decision was made. The Zylaxians would send a message to Earth, but with careful preparations. They designed special reinforced chambers where humans could move safely without risk of damaging the crystal structures or people around them. They studied human languages and customs, preparing for every contingency. When the response came from Earth, it was not what anyone expected. The humans were overjoyed at the contact but also immediately concerned about the Zylaxians' safety. They asked detailed questions about Zylaxian physical limitations and began designing special protective suits that would let them interact safely. "They fear hurting us more than we fear being hurt," Vethris realized, watching the human engineers work on protective equipment with painstaking care. As the first human delegation prepared to visit Harmonious Light, Vethris stood in her observatory, watching their ship approach. She had studied them for months now, but seeing them in person would be different. Would their careful preparation be enough? Would these Deathworlders truly be the gentle giants their broadcasts suggested? The answer would change everything, not just for the Zylaxians, but for their understanding of strength itself. Perhaps, Vethris thought, watching the human ship's careful, precise approach, true strength lay not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to protect. Lieutenant Rihanna Martinez stood motionless in her protective suit, trying not to even breathe too heavily as she watched First Observer Nalthine demonstrate the traditional Zylaxian greeting. His crystalline form caught the light, sending prismatic patterns dancing across the specially reinforced chamber walls. The resonance must be precise, Nalthine explained, his form humming at a specific frequency. Too sharp, and it causes discomfort. Too flat, and it signals disrespect. Rihanna adjusted the harmonic emitter in her suit, carefully matching the tone. As Earth's first cultural exchange officer to the Zylaxians, she couldn't afford mistakes. One wrong move, one careless gesture, could shatter more than just diplomatic relations. Better, Nalthine chimed approvingly. You have a natural sensitivity to our harmonics, Lieutenant. Please, call me Rihanna, she said, maintaining the careful stillness she'd trained for months to achieve. And thank you. I've been practicing with the simulations, but it's different seeing it in person. You're all so beautiful. The Zylaxian elder's form sparkled with what she'd learned to recognize as pleasure. You are kind to say so. Many species find our crystalline nature unsettling. Humanity has always been fascinated by crystals, Rihanna explained. We see beauty in their geometric perfection, their ability to refract light into rainbow patterns. Some of our earliest art and jewelry featured crystals. As they talked, Rihanna noticed Vethris hovering near the chamber entrance, her young crystalline form vibrating with what seemed like curiosity. The junior observer had been present at all their meetings, but rarely spoke. Vethris, Rihanna called out softly, careful to modulate her voice through the suit's filters. Would you like to join us? I'd love to learn more about your work at the observatory. The young Zylaxian glided forward hesitantly. I have many questions about Earth, if you would permit them. Your gravity, your weather patterns, how do you endure such conditions? Rihanna smiled behind her protective visor. We don't just endure them, they shaped us. Every challenge made us adapt, forced us to become stronger. But strength without wisdom is dangerous. We learned that lesson through hard experience. Over the next few hours, Rihanna found herself deep in conversation with Vethris. The young observer's initial nervousness gave way to genuine fascination as Rihanna shared stories of Earth's diverse ecosystems, its varying gravity regions, and how humans had adapted to thrive in each one. But what amazes me, Rihanna said, is how you've adapted to your environment. These crystal structures, your harmonic communication, the way you process light for energy, it's incredible. Different doesn't mean better or worse. It just means we have different gifts to share. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent chiming. Another Zylaxian, one Rihanna hadn't met, rushed into the chamber. Their form was vibrating with distress. First Observer, they called out. We've detected anomalies in the orbital stabilizers. The artificial gravity field is fluctuating. Nalthine's form darkened with concern. If the fields fail, the increased gravity could shatter the crystal spires, Rihanna finished, understanding instantly. How can I help? The Zylaxians turned to her in surprise. Vethris chimed anxiously, it's too dangerous. The maintenance chambers weren't designed for your protective suits. One wrong move could destroy precious artifacts and historical records, Rihanna acknowledged. But doing nothing could cost lives. Let me help. My suit's sensors can analyze the gravitational fluctuations, and I'm trained in zero-G operations. Nalthine studied her for a long moment, his ancient form refracting light in complex patterns. Finally, he hummed in agreement. Sometimes the greatest wisdom is knowing when to accept help. Vethris, guide her to the maintenance chamber. I will coordinate from here. As Rihanna followed Vethris through the crystal corridors, she moved with exaggerated care despite the urgency of their mission. Each step had to be precisely placed, each movement carefully controlled. One slip could bring disaster. Why do you risk yourself for us? Vethris asked as they hurried along. We are not your people. Our weakness must seem frustrating to one of your strength. Rihanna's answer was immediate and firm. Difference isn't weakness, Vethris. Your people can perceive wavelengths of light we can't even imagine. You can communicate through harmonic resonance across vast distances. You've built a civilization that turns sunlight into symphonies. That's not weakness, it's just a different kind of strength. They reached the maintenance chamber, where delicate crystalline machinery hummed with discordant tones. Rihanna could see the problem immediately. The gravitational field generators were out of alignment, their resonance patterns clashing instead of harmonizing. Now came the true test: could a human, evolved for a world of crushing gravity and brutal storms, demonstrate the delicacy needed to save these beautiful, fragile structures? As Rihanna began her work, she knew she was doing more than just repairing machinery. She was proving that strength could serve gentleness, that differences could bridge divides, and that the greatest power often lay in knowing when to move softly. The emergency alarms rang through Crystal Haven Colony with a discordant shriek that made every Zylaxian vibrate in distress. Vethris rushed to the observatory's main chamber, her form flickering with anxiety as she processed the incoming data. It's massive, she reported to first observer Nalvine, projecting a hologram of the approaching asteroid. 15 kilometers in diameter, dense metallic core. Impact in 48 hours. The colony's governing council gathered quickly, their crystalline forms casting nervous rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. Crystal Haven was their first attempt at colonizing another world, carefully chosen for its gentle gravity and stable environment. But nothing in their calculations had predicted this. The defense platforms can't handle something this size, Council member Tilvax announced, their form dimming with despair. Even if we evacuate, the impact will destroy centuries of work, our research facilities, the terraforming engines. What about the humans? Vethris suggested. Their colony on Mars has advanced asteroid defense systems. They're 3 days away at maximum speed, another council member objected. It would be too late. The chamber's communicator chimed, and Rihanna Martinez's voice filled the room. Actually, we're a lot closer than that. The USS Hyperion has been conducting deep space exercises in your sector. We picked up your distress signal. The chamber erupted in harmonic tones of surprise and hope. Rihanna continued, Captain Johansson has already altered course. We'll reach you in 18 hours. But we'll need your help. When the Hyperion arrived, it was like nothing the Zylaxians had ever seen. The massive ship moved with impossible precision for its size, its engines carefully calibrated to avoid disrupting the colony's delicate gravitational balance. Rihanna, now aboard the Hyperion, coordinated with Vethris. The asteroid's too big to destroy or deflect completely, she explained. But we have a plan. We'll need to use your crystal technology and our raw power together. The plan was audacious. The Zylaxians' crystalline technology could create powerful energy fields, but they lacked the raw strength to effect something so massive. The humans had the power but needed the Zylaxians' precise control. We'll set up crystalline resonator arrays around the colony, Vethris explained to her people. The humans will use their ship's gravitational manipulators to fragment the asteroid, and our arrays will help guide the pieces safely around the colony. The next hours were a blur of activity. Human engineers in protective suits worked alongside Zylaxian technicians, installing massive crystal arrays while the Hyperion's crew calculated trajectories and power requirements. As the asteroid grew larger in their sky, Captain Johansson's voice came through the colony's speakers. Beginning gravitational pulse sequence in 3, 2, 1. The Hyperion's massive engines flared to life, sending precisely calculated gravitational waves toward the approaching rock. The crystal arrays lit up in response, their harmonics joining with the ship's pulses in a symphony of power. The asteroid began to crack, fragments peeling away under the combined assault. But it wasn't breaking up fast enough. "The core's more dense than we calculated," Rihanna reported. "We need more power. If we increase power, the gravitational fluctuations could shatter half the colony." Vethris warned. That's when Nalthine made a decision that would change everything. "Evacuate the outer rings," he commanded. "Focus all power on protecting the central spires. Sometimes survival requires sacrifice." The next few minutes were chaos. As colonists retreated to the reinforced central chambers, the Hyperion increased power to maximum. The outer crystal spires began to crack under the strain, but the resonator arrays held, their harmonics guiding the deadly fragments away from the colony's heart. When it was over, nearly a third of Crystal Haven lay in ruins, but the colony's core and its people had survived. As the dust settled, humans in protective suits helped the Xylaxians assess the damage and begin repairs. "I'm sorry about the outer rings," Captain Johansson said to Nalthine. "We'll help you rebuild." The first observer's form sparkled with an emotion few humans had seen before, hope mixed with determination. "The outer rings can be regrown," he said. "But today we learned something more valuable. We learned that strength and delicacy, power and precision, can work together. That when death threatens, life finds a way." Vethris, working alongside Rihanna to stabilize a damaged resonator, added softly, "And we learned that sometimes the strongest structures are built not of crystal or steel, but of trust between different peoples." The warning came not as an alarm, but as silence. The quantum communication network linking Crystal Haven to other Xylaxian colonies suddenly went dark, its crystalline nodes falling silent one by one. In the newly rebuilt observatory, Vethris watched with growing horror as colony after colony vanished from the network. "It's the Krax Empire," Commander Rihanna Martinez said grimly, studying the tactical display through her protective visor. After the asteroid crisis, she'd been promoted to permanent liaison to the Xylaxian colonies. Their energy signatures are unmistakable. 3 dreadnought-class vessels, backed by a swarm of striker ships. The Krax were notorious throughout the galaxy, a species of nomadic warriors who had evolved on a world even harsher than Earth. They saw the universe as a testing ground, believing that only the strong deserved to survive. To them, the crystalline Xylaxians were an aberration that needed to be erased. "They're systematically destroying our communication nodes," First Observer Nalthine noted, his usually melodious voice sharp with concern. "Cutting us off from help before they strike." "Not all help," Rihanna corrected, activating her quantum link to the Earth Defense Fleet. "The USS Hyperion and her battle group are already en route. But they're 4 hours out. We need to hold until then." The Krax commander's transmission cut through all frequencies, his gravelly voice filled with contempt. "Fragile ones. Your time in this galaxy is over. Submit to extinction with dignity, or we will shatter you piece by piece." Nalthine's response was calm, his crystalline form steady. "We choose neither extinction nor submission. We stand with humanity now." The Krax commander laughed. "The Deathworlders? They are soft, weakened by compassion. They cannot save you." The first attack came minutes later. Krax striker ships screamed through Crystal Haven's upper atmosphere, their weapons targeting the colony's defensive shields. The crystalline energy barriers held, but each impact sent harmonic tremors through the colony's structure. "We can't take many more hits like that," Vethris reported, monitoring the shield resonance patterns. The harmonics are becoming unstable. Rihanna's mind raced. The Xylaxians' technology was incredible, but it was designed for defense, not combat. The cracks knew this and were using brute force to overwhelm the shields. But maybe. The resonator arrays, she said suddenly. The ones we used to deflect the asteroid. Could we modify them to amplify our weapons without shattering your structures? Vethrissa's form brightened with understanding. Yes. We could create a harmonic convergence between your ship's energy weapons and our crystal technology. The next hour was a desperate race against time. While the shields absorbed punishment from above, humans and Xylaxians worked together to modify the defense systems. Security Officer Thexal, the youngest member of the colony's council, proved particularly adept at integrating the two technologies. They're coming around for another pass, Vethris warned as the Crack's ships regrouped. Let them come, Rihanna said, her hand hovering over the modified defense controls. Resonator arrays at full power. When the Crack's ships dove for their attack run, they found themselves flying into something unprecedented. The humans' defensive batteries, normally designed for raw power, were channeled through Xylaxian crystals that transformed the energy into precisely tuned beams. The attacks threaded between Crystal Haven's spires with impossible precision, striking the Crack's ship's engines and weapons while leaving their life support intact. The Crack's commander's voice crackled through the comm system again, this time with rage. What trickery is this? Fight with honor, without these cowardly precision strikes. Honor? Rihanna responded, her voice stern. Honor is protecting those who need protection. Honor is using strength to preserve life, not destroy it. Your ships are disabled, your crews alive but helpless. Surrender. The arrival of the Hyperion battle group ended any thought of continued resistance. The Crack's dreadnoughts, seeing their striker ships disabled with surgical precision, knew they faced an enemy that combined human strength with Xylaxian finesse. In the aftermath, as human engineers helped repair Crystal Haven's damaged spires, Nalvine found Rihanna in the observatory. You could have destroyed them, he observed. The combined power of our technologies would have allowed it. Rihanna nodded. We could have. But that's not why we came to the stars. Humanity learned long ago that true strength isn't about destruction, it's about having the power to destroy and choosing not to. Vethris, who had been quietly working nearby, chimed in. The Cracks thought our crystalline nature made us weak. They never understood that true strength can take many forms. Like crystals themselves, Rihanna agreed, watching the starlight refract through Crystal Haven's spires. Beautiful, complex, and far stronger than they appear. 2 years after the Crack's invasion, Crystal Haven had become something unprecedented in the galaxy, a place where strength and delicacy danced in perfect harmony. The colony's new central spire rose twice as high as before, its crystalline structure reinforced by human engineering while maintaining its ethereal beauty. In a specially designed chamber near the top, Commander Rihanna Martinez stood before the combined council, a gathering of both human and Xylaxian leaders. She'd long since mastered the art of perfect stillness in her protective suit, but today her heart raced with excitement. Project Synthesis is ready for implementation, she announced, activating a holographic display. The first joint human Xylaxian defense fleet. The images showed something entirely new. Ships that combined human durability with Xylaxian crystalline technology. Their hulls contained layers of living crystal that could channel energy and respond to threats with precision. Human crews worked alongside Xylaxian specialists, each complementing the other's strengths. But it's more than just ships, Vethris added, her crystalline form humming with pride. Now the head of xenocultural studies, she had been instrumental in bridging the gap between their species. Show them the academies, Rihanna. The hologram shifted to show new structures rising on both Earth and harmonious light. The exchange academies, Rihanna explained. where humans learn the art of precise control and harmonic manipulation, while Zylaxians study how to strengthen their crystal structures and adapt to varying gravitational conditions. First observer Nalthine, his form now bearing the complex patterns of even greater wisdom, spoke up. When we first detected signals from Earth, we feared the Deathworlders would destroy us. Instead, you taught us that true strength lies not in imperviousness to damage, but in the resilience to adapt and grow stronger from challenges. And you taught us, responded Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet, that precision and gentleness are not weaknesses, but powers in their own right. Our ships are stronger now that we understand how to channel energy through crystal matrices. Our soldiers are more effective now that they know when to use force and when to show restraint. The chamber's crystals sang with harmonic approval as both councils voted unanimously to expand the alliance. But the real celebration was happening outside, in the colony's newly designed common areas. Human children in miniature protective suits played carefully with young Zylaxians, learning early how to balance strength with gentleness. Zylaxian artists collaborated with human musicians, creating performances that combined crystalline harmonics with traditional Earth instruments. Scientists from both species worked side by side, each bringing their unique perspectives to solving the galaxy's challenges. In a quiet moment during the celebrations, Rihanna found Vethris in their favorite observation dome. Together they watched the sunset paint Crystal Haven spires in brilliant colors. "Did you ever imagine this?" Rihanna asked, gesturing at the thriving colony below. "When you first detected our signals?" Vethris's form sparkled with amusement. "Never. I was certain you would accidentally destroy us all within the first week." Her tone grew more serious. "But you proved that strength can protect as well as destroy. And we proved that what others see as fragility can be its own kind of power." "The cracks still don't understand," Rihanna noted. "Their raids have decreased, but they still call our alliance unnatural." "They will learn," Vethris responded confidently. "Already, other species are watching us. The Arathai have requested to join our exchange academies, and even the reclusive Quantum Collective has expressed interest in diplomatic relations." As if to emphasize her point, a new ship appeared in the darkening sky, one of the prototype synthesis vessels, its crystalline hull glowing softly as it maneuvered into dock. Human strength and Zylaxian precision, working in perfect harmony. "We're changing the galaxy's understanding of power," Rihanna realized. "Not through conquest or dominance, but by showing their strength in diversity, in combining different kinds of power. And in knowing when to be strong," Vethris added, "and when to be gentle." She paused, her crystalline form refracting the last rays of sunset. "Though I must admit, you humans are still learning that last part. Just yesterday, one of your engineers got excited about a breakthrough and accidentally cracked 3 panels in the research lab." Rihanna laughed. "And one of your junior researchers still refuses to enter the human section without triple-layered protective fields. We're all still learning." As night fell over Crystal Haven, the colony's lights came on, each crystal spire glowing from within like a star brought down to ground. Human and Zylaxian voices mingled in the evening air, creating a new kind of harmony, one that proved that the greatest strength of all lay not in the power to stand alone, but in the courage to stand together. The fear of Deathworlders that had once paralyzed the Zylaxians had transformed into something remarkable, an alliance that proved strength and fragility were not opposites, but complementary forces that, when combined with wisdom and respect, could create something greater than either could achieve alone.